my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Tuesday, January the 10th. Yeah, that's right. Tuesday, January the 10th. Man, I am not doing well on how my Flosstubes are starting this year, so hopefully next Sunday we'll start to turn it around. I wasn't able to film on Sunday for a couple of reasons. Yeah, it's just how life goes. But I'm here late on a Tuesday to get this started. It's been an okay day today in terms of weather-wise. Still waiting for that really wonderful sunshiny day. I was listening to the weather forecast and it's sounding like later this week, like Friday, maybe Saturday. I don't think it's going to be on Sunday. It was sounding like it was going to be super sunny and warm, which I was very excited about. Saturday would be my preferred day that occurs, but as we all know, I don't exactly have any control over the weather, surprisingly. Anyway, if you are a new viewer, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. And as always, very, very grateful to those of you who are subscribers and returning viewers and who come back and watch my channel to keep up on my stitching journey and comment in the chat with me in the comment section down below. So normally when I start off on my videos is I have a little bit of a discussion about the comments on last week's video. So I very hurriedly was, pulling this together because it is Tuesday night. I'm trying to get it done. And the other one didn't get published. It's loaded, it's up, it's vetted. Anyway, so when I get this one done and it's, doing its thing, that's when I'll actually hit the publish button. So you'll get two that are coming out that look very, well, this is where it'll be interesting for me because I don't know how it will look from a YouTube perspective because it was loaded last week, but it wasn't made public until anyway. For those of you who are wondering, you're going to get two videos to watch fairly close together after what will look like a really big break. Anyway, so I don't have any comments to respond to. So anyway, but if you have any comments, questions, discussion topics you'd like me to discuss, as always, love to hear the conversation in the comment section down below. So with that, let's get into my stitching for 2023. It's a new year, new starts, new things to work on, and until Sunday, I was very happy, mostly happy about where my stitching was going in 2023. Fell off the wagon on Sunday. We'll talk about that in a bit, but let's just get on with it. So to answer Linda, who I call Linda from Leeds, her YouTube name is different than that, but I call her Linda from Leeds, who likes to call me an alphabetese, which I totally am. Let's start with what my new alphabet project is for 2023. And I have decided to work on the spring ABCs. Oh, lots of glare on that. Spring ABCs by Little House Needleworks. And it's typical me. I think it's a lovely chart. You know I'm going to have changed things, right? And I've changed things. Okay, the table I've got set in front of me is not doing its job properly. All right, so I am stitching this on a 28 count Star Sapphire Jobelan, which is a witch fabric. We'll talk about this. And so my goal, so I started this on January 1st. Now, theoretically, following up from Sampler Stitches last year, as long as I get one letter done every 2 weeks, I'll have this project done by the end of the year. So I thought I would start the year off strong. And so I got all, well, okay, I was gonna say I got all of A done, which is a lie. I got most of A done. I have the centers of these two flowers to stitch in. It's a yellow. They did not get stitched in because I had to make a final decision on what color these flowers were going to be. So I stitched one in one color and I stitched the other in an, oh gosh, the glare is just disastrous today. Let's turn down. See if that helps. I don't know if that helps or makes it worse. Anyway, so I stitched one of the flowers in one of the options and I stitched the other flower in the other option, and it became very clear which was, from my perspective, the correct choice. So I only had to rip one out, or unstitch as I like to call it. I differentiate between frogging, which is when I really have to rip it out. That usually involves like a seam ripper and scissors, and it's just, you know, it's beyond salvaging. This was just a quick little unstitch. So I got that done. So that's what that looks like. So let's see. So that's my spring ABCs. Now, I am working this on a gigantic piece of fabric. Yeah, look at that, gigantic piece of fabric. Don't need a crib blanket on the days I'm working on this because the fabric is the blanket. Why am I working it on a really big piece of fabric? Because I'm not 100% convinced that this is the right fabric for this. I have my typical pale blue, like an ice blue Lugana is my, that's not true. It is a Little Boy blue Lugana, which has been discontinued, which is, truth be told, which is why I'm leaning towards this. 28 count Star Sapphire Jobelan is still available. You can still get that. 28 count Little Boy blue is no longer available. I only have one piece of it in my stash, so I kind of went, I don't know that I want to use that up for this particular project. So I think this is okay. I'm going to do a few more letters and make a final decision on this. As I learned with Sampler of Stitches, I did all of chart 1 plus I think the D from chart number 2 and went, you've got it on the wrong fabric, and I restarted it and still managed to catch up. These, as you can tell from this, each of these letters is a lot smaller in scope than what I needed to stitch for Sampler of Stitches. So I think this is going to be much, much easier to keep up with my, well, that I can probably go a little faster on this than I did on Sampler of Stitches. So we'll see how that goes. So that was my start. As you can tell, I'm not using the called for colors to a fairly decent extent. Flosstube Itchy Nose. So the jumping off point for this is really this variegated thread that I'm going to use for a lot of the letters. Not all of them. Now the color that is on the original design is that a lot of the letters are stitched in a green, which would be the green that I'm using here. And not that there's anything wrong with that green, but I had this variegated floss in my stash, and I decided this is what I wanted to use. So this is from Threadworx. It is 011311 called Summer. Gosh, look at, there you go. Actually, yeah, it's better against a dark color. So that's what it looks like. It's got sort of a periwinkle blue and a purple and a green in it, and that's the variegation. So I have 2 skeins of this, Clearly this is the one that I started off with. And I have two, just in case. I know I could go into Markup RXP and find out exactly how many stitches there are of this, but when I was kitting this up last year, it wasn't in Markup RXP. And so when I kitted it up, I had the two skeins and I just went, I'm throwing them both into the floss away bag. And if I need two, I've got two. If I only need one, so be it. So that was the jumping off point for the color palette for this. You know, as always, when I'm doing a color conversion, a lot of the things conceptually stay the same. So the yellow is still going to stay a yellow because it's generally centers of flowers and stuff like that. And, you know, there's brown for the tree trunk and the bunnies and a fence and the quilt stand. So that's still going to stay brown. But the purple that I chose for those flowers needed to coordinate with my variegated. The blue is going to need to similarly sort of coordinate with or be in the same family as the periwinkle of my variegated. So we'll be figuring that out as I go along. But that's my start on my my ABC stitch for 2023. Yes, I'm looking at the pile. And then, so there were 3 starts on January 1st. It was a busy stitching day for me. Because we all know I also don't enjoy the process of starting the stitch. Once they're started, I'm totally fine. Starting the stitch really is my least, generally my least enjoyable part of a stitch. So I also started my monthly stitch. So if you go back a couple of videos, there's a video that's talking about the lessons that I learned in 2022. And one of the lessons that I learned is that while I really enjoy and I purchase a lot of really big charts, it takes me a lot longer to get those completed, particularly now that I am not a monogamous stitcher. So I need to have some smaller charts in amongst what I'm working on so I can feel like I'm getting stuff accomplished. And my voice is going on me again. I don't know what's happening. So my monthly stitch for 2023 is going to be the, gosh, I don't know how to, there you go. The monthly Quaker series from the Heart Needleart. Why is it doing that? I had it. See, there it is. From the Heart Needleart by Wendy. There's one for every month. I'm starting with January. Maybe it's glossy and I don't know it. I'm stitching this on a 40, yeah, you heard that right, 40 count Verdal, which is an even weave fabric. And I am stitching it using the called for DMC colors for the month of January. Man, this is just really, this is why I should do it during the day. Let's turn, let's see how this goes. Maybe that'll help. That helps a little bit. It's better. So there's where I'm at on January. So this is why I said I'm mostly pleased with my progress so far in 2023. I was really hoping by today that this was going to be completed, and it's not. I'm close. I only have a little bit left to go. Like I'm probably at 75%. So I just kind of have this bottom bit of 4 motifs left to finish. 2 of them have been started. 2 of them have not, but it's close. It's really close to a finish. So this should be finished by next video, which will hopefully be next Sunday. Anyway, so the reason why I am choosing to stitch this on a 40 count Verdal is because in the comments on the chart, it says that if you stitch this on a 36 count or a 40 count over 2, that the finished product should fit into a standard 5x7 frame. I am planning on doing all 12 of these this year, just like I did the monthly cottages last year. One a month in the month that they are. Fully finishing it, that's a whole other kettle of fish. We'll talk about that at some later date. But it means I'll get some finishes in, I'll feel good about my progress, all that kind of stuff. So on 40 count, and I chose to do it on the 40 count as opposed to a 36 because I am an even weave person. My preference is an even weave fabric, not a linen. The slubs in a linen bother me. I don't like them. You know me, I like balance and things being equal and equidistant and all that weirdness that's me. So I prefer stitching on an even weave. And so once you get above 32, to my knowledge, Verdal is the only even weave that's available. I bought, when I went to Cincinnati at StitchCon, I bought that piece of Jody fabric that's a blue dyed 40 count Verdal. I did a test stitch previously. You saw that in my finish parade for 2022 that my Big Toe Choose Joy was done on 40 count Verdal. And that specifically was actually my test getting ready for this series to see if I could pull it off and I was comfortable, and I am. I'm totally fine. I do use magnification, but with the magnification I can stitch on 40 no problem, which is great. So we're making great progress on this. This should be a finish by my next video. I love how it's coming along. This was the one that I threw it out in one of the videos about whether or not people prefer, because I did kit it up originally with the Classic Colorworks, and I gave you that comparison of Classic Colorworks to DMC. I decided to go with the DMC. These are the I call them the 930 blues, 930, 931, and 932, and I love how this looks. Love how this looks. So very pleased with that one. And then my third start, which gives rise to this week's topic, is, so once I complete my January Quaker, I'm going to work on another new start. And with, I know, the previous video is my whip parade, and I have 19 or 20 whips that I'm carrying forward, a lot of which are big whips and will take a long time to complete. So why am I starting another project in January? Well, I'm starting another project in January because the plan, again, which I test drove in 2022, is if I start myself out with something that I feel is a really good, concrete, positive start to the year, it leads to a successful stitching year. So my Quaker has been started and it will be finished in January. My ABC project for this year has been started, and based on my first day of stitching on it, it looks like it's going to move along quite reasonably well, which is great. That's going to be positive. And this start is another one where I'm hoping to start and finish this entire project in the month of January. And this is Twilight Star by Patricia Ann Designs. I will caution you that this is an out of print chart to my knowledge. I have gone and I have looked at my standard sort of list of cross stitch distributors where I can get in and I can see what they've got in stock. As far as I can tell, none of them are currently carrying any Patricia Ann Designs. Doesn't mean that this is not available in the secondary market, or you might be able to find it on some online needlework shops that maybe have some older stock, or a brick and mortar shop that may have some older stock. But this is Twilight Star. That's what it's going to look like. I am stitching this on a 28 count White Jobelan. And my goal on New Year's Day was really just to get it started. So I sort of started it and then finished it. But so I had all my materials pulled together. I cut my fabric, it was serged, I hauled it out, I looked at the chart. Now there's a lot of beads in the first band on that sampler, and so I knew I was going to skip that right off the get-go. So I looked at what I was going to stitch and then went and looked at the key and went, you've got to be kidding me. Let's start the year off with some Krynic blended stitching. So 1 strand of DMC plus 1 strand of Krynic blending filament. Yep, we're starting the year off with Krynic. It'll be fine. It was fine. It was fine. I honestly went, is there anything else I could start with? And the answer was not really. So here is my little start. Again, stitching this on a 28 count White Jobelan. Had to think about that twice. And really, I just wanted to get this center part of that design stitched, because we're at the beginning part. So these things there's like an 8 in total. All of that is done with beads, and everything else you see in here is specialty stitches. So anyway, it'll be fine. It was going to be really hard to do the eyelets all spread out unless I had the outside part of that, which is why that got stitched. So once I finish my monthly Quaker, this is coming out. So hopefully I should have at least band 1 completed by the next time I do a video. Love it, love it, love it. I think it's going to be lovely at the end. I just had that moment. Oh my goodness, it's the 1st of January and I'm starting off with Krynic. Really? Yeah, I'm starting off with Krynic. I am using all of the called for fibers on the called for color and count of fabric. I'm pretty sure that they stitched this on a 28 count white cashel linen. I, of course, would have converted it to an even weave. I happen to choose Jobelan. Then on Friday, which was the 6th of January, so on the 6th of every month, I am working through what I'm calling my Queen Elizabeth Memorial pieces. I know I'm doing more than one. I know. I've already finished one. I'm moving on to my next one. Number 2 and number 3 are going to be smallish ones. And then we've got number 4, which will be a bigger one. And then by then I'll have worked it out of my system, right? So the one that I started on Friday was the Jubilee Pinned Cushion Ornament by Helen Phillips. This is an Etsy designer. Now, this is the one that she did for the Platinum Jubilee. And I am starting with this one before I move on to number 3 is going to be the Queen Elizabeth II Keepsakes pillow. These are the ones that I'm going to put in those 2 tea tins. So I'm starting off with this one. I am stitching this on a 28 count opalescent white Lugana. It's royalty, needs sparkle, right? And I'm sort of following the colors. I know. It was also, well, anyway, let me show you what I've got stitched, and then I'll explain to you why it turned out to be more problematic than you'd think it would be. So this is what I've got stitched. So I got the ER done, and I got the gold in the crown done, and this gold outer border. So what are the changes? I am using the called for DMC 797 for the dark blue here. I have changed the gold that's going to be used. Actually, I've done all of this color I'm going to use Petite Treasure braid. I'm using PBO3 for that. There are 6 more stitches in this color that are part of this flower down here at the bottom, and that's going to get stitched with DMC. It's going to be weird to have that be sparkly, but the stuff around the ER cipher and the crown, of course, that needed to be metallic as well. Yeah, I know. First week of 2023, I'm working on opalescent fabric. I had to do something with Krynic blending filament, and now I've added an uncalled for Petite Treasure braid. So, you know, the huge. So that is my start. Man, this was a roaringly not great start. So I did the R, and then I was working on the E, and as I was coming down to the bottom here of the E, it was not spaced correctly. After much looking at the chart, I discovered that stitch number 5 was incorrectly placed. Stitch number 1, 2, 3, and 4, perfectly placed. Stitch number 5, wrong. And everything after that for all of the R, wrong. That was unstitched as well and restitched, and then my second time stitching the E. Now the interesting thing is I was getting ready to unstitch the E, and I went, wait a minute. Stitches 1 through 4 were correct, which meant where I started my E was in the correct spot, so I just had to wait and get my R back in to make sure that my E ended up in the right spot. But yeah, a lot more stitching on that than you would think that there was going to be for something this small. Again, I was kind of hoping I could mostly get this finished in one stitching session, and that didn't happen either. I've also got to make some decisions on some of the other adjustments I'm going to be making to this one, but I have until next month. This is not going to come out again until February 6th for its next stitching session, which hopefully that stitching session, let me just grab my phone and see what day of the week that's going to be. Could be a Monday night. I can probably get that done on a Monday night. So there we are. That is my start on my Jubilee pin cushion, which is going to be fully finished into a pillow, hopefully in 2023. By Helen Phillips from Etsy. I will put a link to both of these Etsy charts in the description box down below if you are interested. Okay, so that is the stitching that I did this week. Let's talk stashquisitions. I had every intention of having some stashquisitions to talk about today, because I got a gift certificate from my brother for Christmas, and I was planning on spending it this week, and even that I failed on. I'm planning on using it to purchase some Historiche stick mooster charts. Originally there were only going to be 2, but based on the gift certificate amount, I'm pretty sure I can get 3, so I think I'm going to get 3. It's all going to Historiche stick booster, so stay tuned for next week's stashquisitions, because hopefully I'll get that pulled together before I get to my next video. Let's talk about plans. So I'm filming this on a Tuesday night, so I'm already off my plans for this week. I didn't get any stitching done on Sunday. I didn't get any stitching done on Monday, so I'm behind. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of catch up. We'll see how much I get done. I need to work on my ABC sampler. I need to finish off that monthly Quaker, and then I'll be fully into Twilight Star. Yeah, Twilight Star. It's a new year. Not firm on all the names of the new projects. Anyway. So that's what I'm planning on working on for the next video. Simple, right? we'll see how fast that Twilight Star goes. I really, really, really want it to be finished by the end of the month, so we'll have to see if I have to do a big push. Let's talk stitching at the library. So I have got the room confirmation book. I've got the room booked at the library and confirmed for Saturday, January 28th in the afternoon from 1:30 to 4:30 at the Signal Hill Library. If you are in the greater Calgary, Alberta area and you want to come and join us, you are more than welcome to just come along and stop in. You don't have to come for all 3 hours. You can come at the beginning and leave whenever. You can stay for all of it. You can come close to the end. You do not have to come for all 3 hours. So you don't need to let me know that you're coming. We have enough space in the room to accommodate several more people. So if you're interested, just come along to the Signal Hill Library. Again, the details on that, including the address for the library, are in the notes section down below. Which brings us to the topic for this week, which is Patricia Ann Designs. So as I have done previously, actually I was just thinking, I should probably have done, never mind that. I'm starting with Patricia Ann Designs because she is the least, so between From the Heart Needleart and Patricia Ann Designs is not as well known. She's an older designer. Again, based on what I have researched on the web, as far as I can tell, most of these charts are out of print. Her own website, Patricia Ann Designs, which I will put a link to in the comment section down below, is still up. So you can go on there, you can see all of her designs. She is, there are a limited number of charts that she published. So I think in totality there's about 50, I think there's 59 designs if I've got my numbers correct. So again, this is not someone who has hundreds and hundreds of charts. They do have, I've pulled out the ones that I have in my collection. And it will give you a flavor for what the style is. And her style is generally band samplers, which include specialty stitches, which include pulled work, which include cut work as well. And we'll talk about that as we go through some of the designs that I've got pulled out here. So as I said before, the one that I'm working on is this Twilight Star, right? So you can, this is, you know, standard sort of band samplers, etc., etc. I like the, I don't have the ring for this, of all the colors for this, but again, it is a very pale lilac, let's say DMC 3041, 3042 purples, DMC 926, 27, 28, sort of those gray blues. That's the color palette for this. Plus beads, plus specialty. This piece, I'm just having a look, I don't think has any cut work on it. I did put this into Markup RXP. You know, so it doesn't do a great job of sort of saying, hey, here's how many diamond eyelets you're doing, but the design is in there so I can mark it off and I'll know what they are. So I have put it into Markup RXP. I'm just trying to go, when I put it into Markup RXP, I don't think there's any cut work on that. I think it's just specialty stitches and pulled work. And as I haul mine out, you know, you've seen me, you've seen the stuff I've stitched on. I certainly have a color palette that I prefer, so you'll laugh at some of these. So another one that I've got, this is a Frosty Morning. Again, another band sampler. This has got specialty stitches and cut work, pulled work, specialty stitches, and cut work in this one. In a very pale blue and white color palette. This uses Needle Necessities, overdyed cotton floss, Krynex. It does use Madeira Jewel, which that actually came with the chart. So if you're looking for this on the secondary market, this may not be included in yours if it's someone who already stitched it, but this is what mine came with. And really, the Madeira Jewel is really just a very, I want to say holographic metallic thread. So that came with the chart when I purchased it. DMC cotton threads, DMC pearl cottons, Mill Hill beads. Yeah, so that's that one. This is Victorian Lace. Again, this is where I say you can. She likes a good band sampler, as do I. This, of course, has more colors in it. This has specialty stitches, pulled work, and cut work as well. That's Victorian Lace. As I say, I know when I was on the website, they had the numbers, but on the charts, they don't have what numbers they are. But as always, if you just go into Google and you type in Patricia Ann Designs in the name of any of the titles of these charts, things will pop up for you. Next up is Silver Frost. Anybody sensing a theme? And the interesting thing, so clearly I have bought these charts years and years and years ago. Let's just have a quick look at the copyrights. So all of these, now these are in the 2000s. It's in the current millennium, but 2002 is still 20 years ago. So yeah, 20 years later, I'm getting around to stitching it. Well, stitching one of them. Silver Frost. And the interesting thing is when I do look at these charts, I still like them. I still want to stitch these. I think they'll be lovely at the end. Now, she does have a book out, and I was gonna go look to see if this was available on Amazon, and I didn't do that. Sorry about that. But this is called A Beginner's Guide to Drawn Thread Embroidery. This is a really great book because it does have a limited number of charts in here, which I am going to show you, but it has really great instructions with pictures, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that as well on how to do the cut work and the pulled work. So, for example, so like this, she's got a page on how to do the interlaced, what's it called? Hem stitched? Yes. You know, so this will be, if you use other designers who use cut work, this is sort of generally what the diagram for this looks like. Don't get me wrong, the first time I did my first interlaced hem stitch, I was like, I don't even understand how to do this. Which is why she's got multiple diagrams with actual fabric and actual thread. So she's using a blue thread on white so you can see what's happening about all of the various, right? I'm reading it backwards. Start here, here's where you're gonna go, then next, and twist, right? It's a really great, really, really good diagrams on how to do these stitches. you know, she's got things on like how to thread a needle with pearl cotton, how to thread a needle with Krynic. I don't know that the way she threads her needle with pearl cotton is how I thread my needle with pearl cotton, but the way she threads her Krynic is how I thread my Krynic. You know, so same way that she's got on how to do that interwoven hem stitch, if the cutting of the threads and what to do with that. Same thing. I'm just going to do a quick flash on this. She's got all these diagrams. These are not drawn diagrams. These are actual diagrams. These are pictures of fabric and thread. So I think it's a great book. You know, certainly if you don't have a local needlework shop where you can go in and you can ask for help, or if you don't have a local stitching group, you know, we all like to say there's always YouTube. When in doubt, you can go to YouTube. You'd be amazed at the stitching things you can find on YouTube. But if you're looking for a resource that you can have in your home, this is a really great one. This might be a little easier to find potentially. Don't know. I will do look it up on Amazon, see if it's available on there. So what has she got? She's got hem stitch over 2, hem stitch over 4, the ladder stitch, zigzag hem stitch, interlaced hem stitch with beads. I like that one. Diamond hem stitch, herringbone stitch, coral knots, modified coral knot clusters, woven wheels. You know, she's got some stuff around how to do stitching with beads, some embroidery stitches, Smyrna crosses, double herringbone stitches, etc., etc. So everything that you would need to stitch any of the charts that are in this book is has been described in the pages ahead. There is a total of, I'm going to ignore the index, 63 pages in this book, so it's not a ginormous book. The first 39 pages are all sort of introduction and stitch diagrams. So what projects are available in this? So this is Summer Garden. I just had to check this. Summer Garden, they've also done it as a white work, right? So white on white. So that is exactly the same pattern as this. It's just done in a different colorway. This is Roses and Lace. This is Roses and Lace, only on a different color of fabric. It's always interesting to see different colorways and how much just changing the different colors and the different fabrics can actually make the exact same piece look like it's a totally different piece, unless you're paying very close attention. This is Flower Garland. This is Flower Garland in a different colorway. It looks like they've made it into a ring bearer pillow. This is Rosebud Trellis. And this is Rosebud Trellis in a very different colorway again. So yeah, there's not like 50 projects in here, but there's enough to get you started. And again, everything that you need to know in order to do every pattern in this book is in those first 39 pages with really great pictures and instructions. So I think it's a great book if you are interested in doing drawn thread, which can also be called pulled work and cut work and stuff like that. More, I was gonna say, anyway, just go with it. And then I have previously finished, so I don't have a ton of the her charts. Let's say, yeah, so probably a total of 5 of the 59. But one of them I've already have as a previous finished. It's still an FO, not an FFO, but you've seen this before and I'm showing it again. This is Midnight Roses by Patricia Ann Designs. I stitched this in 2020. I have stitched this on a 28 count 28 count Denim Blue Jobelan by Witchelt, using all of the called for fibers for this. I think it's lovely. I think it's lovely, 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 lovely. Every time I haul it out, I look at it and go, it's lovely. Unfortunately, in the getting it turned into a fully finished object, because this one I would like to get framed. I think it, unfortunately, it's a little further down in the list, so, but it's lovely. I think it's lovely. So there's my previous finish of a Patricia Ann Designs. Technically, well, I was going to say it's 20% because it's 1 of 5, but that book technically has more anyway. At least I've got some of it done. So that is my quick little review of Patricia Ann Designs. As I've said, the back catalog of her designs, as far as I can tell, are out of print or not easily available. Not as easily available as like the monthly Quaker, which you can get in PDFs from Etsy and Fat Quarter Shop and print copies and all that kind of stuff, because it's a more, it was only released last year or maybe late in 2021. But I do remember that as I was looking at the Just Cross Stitch 2022 Christmas Ornament magazine, there was a Patricia Ann Designs ornament in that magazine. I had him, I was like, oh, she's back. I don't know that she necessarily went away, but my recollection is that in the 2022 Just Cross Stitch Ornament magazine, there was a Christmas ornament by Patricia Ann Designs. So if you're looking for one of her designs that's even smaller than what I've shown you, there's that resource as well. How big are these? Let's take the one I'm actually working on. So the stitch count for Twilight Star is 60 wide by 164 high. Right, so it's a fairly narrow sampler. So on 28 count, it's 4.3 inches wide by 11.7 inches high. And it is not full coverage. Go back to where's my picture, right? Not full coverage. So that's why in my head I went, I think I should be able to get this completed in January as long as nothing goes horribly off the rails. I'm already 2 days behind on my stitching, but hopefully we can catch up. We can catch up, right? It'll be fine. So if I get this completed in January and my January Quaker and keep up with all my other things, I think that will mean I will have had a very successful start to January. which means I'll have a good stitching year, right? That's how that works, right? Right? All right. And with that, that's all of the stitching related items that I have for you. Yes, I'm still filming in front of my Christmas decorations. These should be going down this week. My family tradition is that all of the Christmas decorations stay up until Epiphany, which is January 6th, and only once we are past January 6th do they start coming down. So that is my family's tradition. That's what I've grown up with, and I've certainly, with all the work it takes to get Christmas up, I leave it up. I like to put it up early. I start early. I like to keep it up, and I keep it up all the way to Epiphany before it starts to come down. Those people who sort of go, okay, Boxing Day, everything's coming down. I don't understand that, because if nothing else, you need to leave it for January 1st so it can be celebratory and the lights. And anyway, but that's me. That's not everybody. You do you. If it's stressing you out, put it away. But that's my tradition, which is why you're still seeing these. My goal is hopefully next week, not that you will see this, is that these will be gone and I will be stitching at my my other winter filming spot, unless I look at the weather forecast and it turns out that it's a beautiful sunshiny day here on Sunday. Wouldn't that be lovely? Because then I might be able to film in the sunroom. I keep telling myself it's going to get sunny and warm again, right? It's going to get sunny and warm. We'll be back in the sunroom. Before you know it, it'll be awesome. Not that this is a terrible room to stitch in, but I like the sunroom. All right, with that, I hope everybody's had a really great week. As always, thinking of the people of the Ukraine. Yeah, the stories coming out of the Ukraine continue to be incredibly heartbreaking. Thinking about them, I certainly have been following where I live. There certainly are a number of Ukrainian refugees that are arriving in the greater Calgary area, as well as all across Alberta. I've been seeing the Facebook posts of they're immigrants. They're coming with nothing, and I have to say the communities here are really great about stepping up. There was a post just before Christmas about a Ukrainian couple who had just arrived. So I want to say it was like maybe the 20th, the 21st. They had arrived in Calgary with, whatever suitcases they had, and that's it. They had found an apartment to live in, a one-bedroom apartment, completely unfurnished, and I think by the 23rd of December, it was fully furnished for them with donations from people that live in the local, in the neighborhoods right around. It's not like all across of Calgary. It was really from people from right around where they were living that were donating all of the stuff, which it was amazing watching it happen. So, by Christmas Day, they were in a fully furnished apartment in Canada, which it was really great watching everybody step up and contribute things. So that part was heartwarming. I'm sorry that they're having to be refugees. But as the minister from my Christmas Eve service said, don't forget, Mary and Joseph and Jesus, very shortly after his birth, were refugees themselves. Anywho, with that, my taglines: safety first, safety first, safety first. I hope everybody is staying safe. I hope everybody's staying healthy. I hope you're finding some time to do some stitching, and I hope that your new year is getting off to a good start. I really hope that for everybody, that you can just sort of say we're in a new year and things are starting hopefully on a positive note for you. That is my wish for you, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video, which I really hope is going to happen on a regularly scheduled Sunday. Okay, I look forward to seeing you. Take care.